Now in my instance, contrary to the movies, in late 2005, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it was about the size of a plum. I'm not sure why my hand is on my head, other than this is where it was. It was about the size of a plum on my head, so I had 3 surgeries that continued throughout 2006, the first one being in late 2005. It was a 7-hour surgery to remove the first brain tumor, 2 subsequent surgeries thereafter, 5-6 weeks of daily radiation would follow that. And because I didn't know what was going on, and I had been misdiagnosed by a first neurologist, so I went to a second neurologist, and thank goodness for her. And amidst all of the MRIs and the scans and the tests and the biopsies and everything, I finally was sitting at the office one day and got a call from my second neurologist. So I assume, all right, this has got to be good news. They're not going to call you on the phone and tell you that you're going to die. So I picked up the call, and lo and behold, my neurologist was sort of like, if anyone remembers, Dr. Ruth. She was short and she was foreign, and I always felt like she was yelling at me. So I picked up the phone on an ordinary day at the office, and she proceeded to yell at me across the phone that I had a brain tumor. It's the size of a plum. We finally figured out what's going on. Why are you having all these symptoms? Why your leg is numb, your foot is numb? You need to come into my office as early as possible. Be here tomorrow at 8 a.m. Click. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't that abrupt. That was kind of how I perceived it. So, of course, I proceeded to pick up the phone and call my wife and say, hey, I got a call from the neurologist. I've got a brain tumor. And her response, of course, was, well, what does that mean? And I said, I don't know, I'm going in tomorrow, and I'll let you know how long I have to live. Click. So, all right, maybe it wasn't that abrupt either.
Oh, yeah.
But at the right, maybe it was. But at the time, I knew nobody that had a brain tumor. I certainly didn't know anyone who had survived a brain tumor. So I assumed, all right, I guess I'll find out tomorrow how long I have to live. And for the first time, I started asking myself those questions and asking myself, why do I not have a bucket list? And what do I actually want to do for the rest of my life? And 2.5 years later, undergoing more symptoms and more biopsies, different things happening to my body, all of the physicians going from neurosurgeons to neurologists to radiologists and finally to an oncologist, all of the symptoms, everyone's assuming it's got to be related to the brain tumor. The tumor is now growing back somewhere different in your body. And I'm sitting in another normal day, and I'm sitting in an oncologist's office, and of course, once again, I'm by myself. And he proceeds to tell me, you have cancer. And tells me that I have a mass on my chest, it's lymphoma. And once again, I'm thinking, all right, I'm getting ripped off here. Because everything I see in the movies is everybody's got all the support, family members around. There was a lot of discussion, thought-provoking conversation. Second time in a row, and I'm by myself. My wife's not there, my kids aren't there. And again, I started asking myself those questions, particularly at that point in time, since I had now, for 2.5 years, survived a brain tumor and 3 surgeries and all the radiation. And now I'm being diagnosed with cancer. So I'm thinking, well, what are the odds that I actually am going to survive this for a second time? So I asked myself those questions, those thought-provoking questions. And as I had this conversation with myself, I answered myself and basically found that all of my answers to what do I want to do with the rest of my life, all of my answers were effectively, well, I think I'm already doing what I want to do, and effectively, I'd like to continue doing what I'm doing. And through the process, I also thought about the whole physician-patient relationship and realized maybe for the first time that it's really a 50-50 deal. The first 50% starts with us paying attention to ourselves, listening to our gut feeling, paying attention to the symptoms and the signs that our body's giving us, and actually going into a specialist or a physician to find out what's going on with us. At that point, their responsibility takes over to diagnose us, hopefully correctly, and hopefully start treating us and ultimately cure us. But even at that point, it doesn't stop, because the responsibility goes back to us to then decide how we're going to wake up every day and deal with this. They can do the best they can to cure us and treat us, but it's up to us to decide how we're going to feel every day we wake up, how we perceive this threat to our life, what we're going to do with the rest of our life, and ultimately how hard we're going to fight every day we wake up to try and beat this.